Hi there. You should assess your garden about 3 to 4 weeks after planting and consider some minimal pruning. This initial pruning will encourage fuller, bushy growth in the weeks to come. You may notice some varieties are growing more quickly than others. It is important to allow every plant to establish the root system without competition. As plants grow in height and size, you will notice the roots in the reservoir also expanding with growth. You will notice the roots grow in accordance with the production of leaves. In addition, the aggressive growing varieties such as Genovese basil can grow quickly. They'll shade out the light from the smaller herbs and slower growers in the planting. Determine which varieties are growing a little faster than the others and remove a minimal amount of leaves from the larger herbs simply by starting at the top of the plant. Follow the stem back to the previous leaf set and make the cut just above it. In the case of this curly parsley, it's already starting to grow a little taller than the others. I'm simply going to follow from the top of the leaves back to the base of the plant where it meets the label on the top of the pod and make the cut. We're going to use the same method with the mint as we just did with basil. Follow to the previous leaf set and prune. Pruning contains the plant to their assigned spot in the garden and prevents plants from competing with one another for resources, both at the grow deck level and also in the reservoir. We've created balance with our first pruning, and you may need to remove a few leaves over the next 2 weeks or so. The light hood should be positioned about 2 inches from the tops of the plants once they are established. It's just too high for the other herbs. What ends up happening is the plants will begin to reach for the light and become spindly instead of bushy and full. You may even notice the leaves at the bottom of the plants begin to discolor and fall off. This is a result of the leaves not receiving the energy from the light. The plant will naturally shed these leaves as they are no longer useful and create more leaves at the top of the plant near the light. Let's go ahead and prune this dill so that we can move the light hood down near the rest of the herbs. There are a few ways to prune dill. The leaves of the dill are also referred to as fronds because their texture is similar to feathers. This can make it a little confusing as to where you make the cut when pruning. You have a few options. You may follow the very top leaves back to the previous leaf set and make the cut right above it. You may also prune where the stem meets the label on the top of the pod. If you leave a stem present that does not have any leaves, it will not make more. You will notice that the dill will continue to produce new stems at the lower center portion of the plant. You may also strategically remove leaves to allow dappled light to reach the center of the plant, which will encourage new growth. The Genovese basil is growing tall and narrow. I prefer it to be a little fuller. To encourage some new growth, I'm simply going to remove this first leaf set to expose the tiny leaves beginning to form at the previous leaf set. I will get a lot more production from the basil this way. Same with the mint. The thyme is looking about the same size as the rest of the now pruned herbs, so I'll leave it as it is until the next harvest. Same with the Thai basil. Now I will lower the light hood so the full intensity of the light reaches all the herbs equally. We are about 8 weeks into our herb planting and our garden has reached maturity. An herb planting will continue to produce for months if cared for properly. You'll be harvesting and storing your herbs at this point, and you'll be able to create multiple recipes with the abundance of your mature garden. Let's get started. I'm going to remove a little basil. Some of the leaves are getting rather large and blocking light from reaching the developing leaves underneath. Now let's prune the mint right above leaf sets to keep it balanced. Just as we did a few weeks ago, let's go ahead and prune the dill. The curly parsley also needs a little pruning. Once again, we are looking for balance. Now let's tackle this wild thyme. Thyme is easy to prune. You can cut above leaf sets, or you can simply give it a haircut. This variety of thyme has tender, flavorful stems. This makes it convenient when preparing because you don't have the extra step of removing the leaves from the stems in order to prepare it for a recipe. The plants are large enough to prune back multiple leaf sets, keeping in mind that you never want to take more than 1/3 of the entire plant in one pruning session. Taking too much of the plant can harm the plant. It will not have enough leaves to take in energy from the light and adversely affect your plant. Always remember to lower your lights when you're finished harvesting. There are so many culinary options and applications for your fresh grown herbs. Enjoy creating delicious recipes with your harvest.